case, 33 minutes plus 1 lap. And the race result from earlier on, Guan Yu Zhu took the win from Robert Schwartzman, P2, and Shuri Vips was P3. So there you can see the number 44 car making its way round to the pole position place for that driver, Shuri Vips. Through the pit lane, though, for another installation lap before the cars made their way to the grid. So the big championship talking point is the fact that Marcus Armstrong with the DNF in race 1 is mathematically out of the championship. Now, the scenario we have with regards to this man, Daniel Ticktum. Now, if Ticktum is off the podium, Mick Schumacher becomes the champion. If Ticktum wins the race, Mick needs to be 4th or better for the title. If Ticktum is 2nd, Mick needs to be 8th or better for the title. Ticktum is 3rd, Mick needs 10th or better for the title. When you consider that Dan Ticktum is going from P15 on the grid and Mick Schumacher is going from P2 on the grid, then you can understand why you might be having a bet of us finding the new FIA Formula 3 European champion in this race. So there is the Mick Schumacher car then. He's had an incredible run of success from the middle to the end of the season. It's all come really good for the Prema Theodore racer. And he's made the most of every chance that he's had and really delivered in terms of drives. Going through a streak of some 5 wins. Absolutely extraordinary run of success. He took his first win of the season back in Spa in July, then followed that up with another win in Silverstone. And then when it came to Misano, he won the first race. But it was from Nürburgring thereon. He took 3 out of 3 at the Nürburgring, and then followed that up with 2 out of 3 at the Red Bull Ring. Took 2 wins and a P2, so really banked some fairly serious points from Silverstone on, and well, from Spa on, to be honest with you. That's where it's all played into the hands for this man, and played out of the hands, if you like, of Dan Ticktum. So Mick Schumacher then in car number 4, making his way through the pit lane. And there you can see the Mick Schumacher car, followed by the Guan Yu Zhu car, then the Ralph Aron car, 4, 1 and 7. And there, just into the picture, is the number 27 machine of Dan Ticktum, who has, from the scenarios that I've just painted, what he needs to do to still be in with a shout of the Drivers' Championship. Shuri Vips. There is the number 33 car of Marino Sato, the Moto Park racer. And that is the cars around the Parabolica, then heading up towards the hairpin turn. So we are about 9 minutes away from the start of the formation lap. And they're weaving from side to side is Mick Schumacher, and behind is the all-yellow car of the Carlin driver, Sasha Fenestras, who has been a race winner this season. His sole race win coming in the second race at Po, which was the opening event. Seems a long time ago now, back there in middle of May. And we reached the conclusion of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship this weekend here in Hockenheim. Delighted to welcome onto the grid the Van Amersfoort racer, Frederik Vesti, as well, who in this race has qualified P21. So the race 2 grid is set from the fastest lap times in Q2. When it comes to race 3 tomorrow, that grid is set from the second fastest lap times in Q2. So the cars make their way into their grid boxes now, ahead of the start of this 33 minutes race plus 1 lap. And there is Daniel Ticktum then, in the Red Bull liveried number 27 car, which of course is engineered by Moto Park. So the VW powered car making its way into the grid box. And there, as you can imagine, there is an awful lot of media attention around this man. Mick Schumacher then who, in this race, all the omens are looking really rather good for him to seal the 2018 FIA Formula 3 European Championship. Here's our pole sitter, though. Should take nothing away from this man, Juri Vips, with a 1:32.2. Has that done enough to put himself on pole position? But just look at the throng of people around the Mick Schumacher car. Millimetrically, perfectly into the grid box goes Juri Vips. Gloves off, and there is, as I said, the throng of media people around the car of Mick Schumacher. Tremendous pressure on the young man ahead of the start of this race. So Vips, Schumacher, Schwartzman. Then it'll be Daravala, Paulo, Hanses, Finestras, Ron, Ahmed, and Marino Sato rounding out the first 5 rows. So the grid becomes a very busy place here. And there is the Dan Ticktum car then going from P15 on the grid for Daniel Ticktum, then with significant work to do to keep his championship hopes alive. So the pole sitting car then of Juri Vips. 1:32.284 was the time that gave him that pole position. Juri's had 3 race wins this season. 1 at the Norris Ring, 1 at Silverstone, and 1 at Misano. And going from P2 on the grid then, Mick Schumacher, who we've already detailed the number of wins that Mick Schumacher has had and what has put him into a commanding position in terms of the points haul in the Drivers' Championship. Robert Schwartzman is another one that's had a good run of success towards the final third of the season. Robert Schwartzman really showing the pace that we know he has for Prema Feyenoord racer, Robert Schwartzman. So the focus through the crash helmet visor that we can see on the face and eyes of Robert Schwartzman ahead of this race, going from P3 on the grid, ahead of Gian Daravala in the number 9 car. Gian Daravala, of course, did not finish race 1. Looking at the car of Alex Paulo now, going from P5 on the grid, the high-tech Bullfrog GP driver, Alex Paulo. So final instructions from race engineers there. Now that is the Julian Hanses car. Julian Hanses driving for the Carlin team. Julian Hanses started the season for the Marcon team and then missed out on the 3 rounds, but returned with the Carlin team, thankfully, at the Red Bull Ring. Good to see Julian Hanses back in the car again. Finished the race earlier in P11. So Julian Hanses then, very, very talented young driver, and we will see what Julian Hanses can deliver in this race, going from P6 on the grid. So good qualifying from Julian. So a great shot from behind the Mick Schumacher car. So as the grid begins to empty now, and just remind you for the sake of clarity what the points situation is following the first race here this weekend. Mick Schumacher on 329 points. Daniel Ticktum is on 290 points. Marcus Armstrong now out of the championship chase on 260 points and starting back down the order in P14 as well. So it's pretty likely that if all goes well for Mick Schumacher, he's going to seal the championship in this race. Sasha Finestras, then the Carlin driver, going from P7 on the grid for the number 11 all-yellow car of Sasha Finestras. Talking to Trevor Carlin from the Carlin team earlier on today. Carlin name synonymous, of course, with Formula 3 for many, many years. So we are about 3 3/4 minutes away from the start of the formation lap for race number 2 in the FIA Formula 3 European Championships final appearance this weekend. We have one more race after this one, that comes tomorrow. And and then the season is done and dusted. As always, packed grid. And there is Ralph Aron, who is going from P8 on the grid. I thought it was Guan Yu Zhu. He's going from P11, though. Ralph Aron then from P8 on the grid, finished in the points and took P6 in race 1. Ferdinand Habsburg regrettably didn't finish in race 1. And Ferdinand Habsburg in the number 62 car going from P16 on the grid. So gloves on. The number 65 car is Inem Ahmed, driving for the high-tech Bullfrog GP team. 132.666 gave him P9 on the grid. So Inem Ahmed then from P6 on the grid. Ahead of him is Alex Paolo going from P5. So good girls, and the rest of the people just about to leave the grid. All that will be left will be the race engineers to fire up the cars as we look at the number 33 car of Marino Sato, the Moto Park racer. So Marino Sato then going from P10, so completing the fifth row of the grid for this second Formula 3 European Championship race of the weekend. The Hockenheim circuit, 4.574 kilometers, 16 turns, 6 of them left, 10 of them right. And the FIA Formula 3 lap record is with Jake Hughes, 132.489, which was set in 2016. Race lap record, that is. So the whistles are blowing to clear the grid. And let's take a look at the points situation once again then. In the Drivers' Championship, Mick Schumacher on 329 points, Daniel Ticktum then on 290. So, we've been through some of the scenarios, but given where Mick Schumacher is starting in the race, going from P2, given where Daniel Ticktum is starting the race, going from P15 on the grid, then it's pretty likely that we are going to see a new champion at the end of this race. If indeed that is the case, the championship ceremony won't take place until after race 3 tomorrow. However, the pressure will be off when it comes to tomorrow because the job will have been done today. But we will find out more in around about 35 minutes from now. There's Daniel Ticktum. He knows what he's got to do to try and keep himself in this championship race. I have to say, there were many of us that thought that the championship would be sealed and dealed in race number 1, but it wasn't the case. So who knows what can happen? Motorsport. It's why we love it. It's so unpredictable at times. So Mick Schumacher going from P2 on the grid. Juri Vips is pole position. There is the boss of Prema Theodore Racing, Rennie Rossin, making his way down the pit lane. And the rise of the engine note means the cars are released on their formation lap. As we follow the cars around on this formation lap, we will bring you the grid in full. So the Hockenheim circuit then, 4.574 kilometers of tarmac await the drivers for the second time today. And the grid with the front row containing Juri Vips, pole position for P1, and Mick Schumacher, who will be going from P2. So the cars are on the parabolica now, heading up towards the hairpin turn, weaving from side to side vigorously to try and generate temperature into the tyres, and continuation of our grid then. So Vips and Schumacher, P1 and P2. Then it's Robert Schwartzman and Gian Daravala. Alex Paolo and Julian Hanses going from P5 and P6. Sasha Fenestras and Ralph Aron, P7 and P8. Inem Ahmed and Marino Sato then complete the first 5 rows of the grid for race number 29. Ahead of Guan Yu Zhu, race winner earlier on. Fabio Scherer, P12. Jonathan Aberdeen, P13. Then it's Marcus Armstrong, P14. Followed by the man that's doing the chasing in the championship, Daniel Ticktum. Then it's Ferdinand Habsburg, Sophia Flörsch, Ben Hingley. Then Fernandez, Petrov, Vesti, Troitsky, Suri Andres, and Amaya Vadyanathan. And that's the way the grid looks. Their confirmation of the track layout, 4.574 kilometers, 33 minutes plus 1 lap. Challenging circuit in the late afternoon sunshine with still plenty of spectators, thousands of them, to enjoy the FIA Formula 3 European Championship and potentially a new champion to be awarded in this race. The title could be won. So the cars make their way through the final turns, turn number 15 and 16. Heading towards turn number 16 now, which is the Südkurve. Here's Mick Schumacher, makes his way through that Südkurve, and then we'll park up. So tension throughout the pit lane, of course. Juri Vips is very vigorous on the tyres of the number 44 car, warming the tyres, warming the brakes as well. Parks up perfectly in the grid box. The team chief looks on. There is Daniel Ticktum. Air temperature is extraordinary, still 31.9 degrees. Who's that into the pit lane? So the green flag from the marshal at the rear. The engine note rises. We're about to get the race underway. 5 red lights. They are out. Let's go racing. It is the second race in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. Juri Vips makes P1 his. And make sure that from pole position he converts that into the race lead before they get into turn number 1. So as we can see already, one of the cars running really, really wide. Through turns 2 and 3 and onto the parabolica then. Mick Schumacher chasing down Juri Vips. So Inem Ahmed and Fenestraz, the ones that were victims in the early stages. And there you can see. So that yellow flag in turn number 1, that's the reason why they're going through the hairpin now, that real pinch point. And Julian Hanse is also involved in that incident, but for the moment, Juri Vips is able to stay ahead of Mick Schumacher, but for how long? Because Schumacher is feisty here, dives, and the battle for P3 and 4 was going on behind with Schwartzman and Paolo, and the big advantage taker there could have been, there you can see Ralph Aron, who's put himself up into P3. Safety car is being called for, so the cars will all have to go behind the safety car now. Juri Vips was able to not yield rather, to the advantage of, or to the advances of Schumacher. Incidentally, Dan Ticktum has made his way into P10. So there you can see the conversations going on there. Sasha Fenestraz then out of the car, and safety car is being called for. So safety car deployed, and there you can see that is the number 17 car of Julian Hanses, involved in that with Sasha Fenestraz as well. Inem Ahmed is still on the track, but is nursing the car back to the pit lane. There is Julian Hanses. And there you can see the damage on the number 65 car of Inem Ahmed. Significant damage to the front of the Sasha Fenestraz front corner, as you can see. Wheel hanging off the car. So that has got to be recovered. Also, the Julian Hanses car has got to be recovered as well. So Sasha Fenestraz then, really rather unenthusiastically, gets into the medical car. Looks absolutely fine, but as always, driver safety and medical condition is of high importance, and whilst he's probably arguing that he doesn't need checking over, they want to check him over. Julian Hans says there. Well, you can see that Julian is absolutely fine and out of the car, but of course his race is done and dusted. The Inem Ahmed car is into the pit lane, and they're working on that straight away. So we're going to see some slow-mos replays of the start, and perhaps we can, all our focus and attention, of course, was on right at the front to see what else went on there. So getting a very, very bad start was Julian Hanses, and Ralph Ferron was able to take advantage of that. There was the contact on Fenestras. Oh, and that was big contact into the tyre barriers, to be fair. Can absolutely see why they want to... Now, I just wonder whether the initial push came from Inem Ahmed. As you can see, that was quite an impact, which is why the medical team just want to check him over, quite rightly. You can... we're going to see the point of impact. Yes, actually lifted the car off the ground, as you can see. And we'll see it from a different angle here as the car is flying to the right-hand side through the gravel and into the Hankook advertising board. And from this, you see Inem Ahmed touches Julian Hanses. Julian Hanses then has absolutely nothing he can do about it and actually connects with Fenestras. So completely unintentional. And there you can see the damage to the Inem Ahmed car. So Julian Hanses was... there you can see Julian. And they'll take a look at the videos afterwards and see exactly how that unfolded, as we have just done. So the Julian Hanses car now is going to be recovered. So all of this is sort of playing into the hands of Mick Schumacher somewhat, because Ticktum has got to be, well, where is he? P11. This is all playing into the hands of Mick Schumacher every second that ticks by, of course. So there, the Motopark team look on. The order is Vips, Schumacher are on, Paulo, Schwartzman, Daravala, then it's Marino Sato and Fabio Scherer. He is P8 at the moment. P9 is Guan Yu Zhu, and Jonathan Aberdeen is P10. So no further action, we're being told, with regards to the Turn 1 incident involving cars 11, 17 and 65. Being put down as a racing incident. There is Dan Ticktum then. I reckon, as we can see, the Julian Hanses car being taken away, where don't think we're going to be able to get the safety car in at the end of this lap. They're not going to be quite advanced enough with regards to the getting the Julian Hanses car into a position of safety. So I think we're going to have the remainder of this lap plus one more behind the safety car. So Mick Schumacher then, P2, Jury Vips, P1. Ralph Ferron, though, taking advantage of various situations, finds himself in P3. So there is Schumacher weaving from side to side. What they're trying to do is maintain the temperature that they've got in the tyres. Because, of course, as soon as you're behind the safety car, you're not travelling at the speed you would in race pace, and therefore the heat generation steps away. And so too, therefore, the grip afforded. So, with a big crowd still here to enjoy this Formula 3 race, I think we will get away with just this lap behind the safety car, then the safety car will come in. However, no confirmation of that yet. We'll wait and see. So first of all, looking at the Motopark pit wall, now looking at the Prema Feodor Racing pit wall. Sure enough, safety car is going to come in this lap. So we will, where are we at? 25 and 3/4 minutes plus one lap. So we're going to have about 24 minutes plus one lap of racing, I would suggest. Perhaps a bit under that for the second of these FIA Formula 3 European Championship races this weekend. So Jury Vips is P1, Mick Schumacher P2, Ralph Ferron P3. Now, Juri Vips will back all the cars up, and it will be his responsibility to control the pace of the restart. And of course, what Mick Schumacher will try and do is try and anticipate when Juri Vips is going to go for it, and try and be right on the gearbox of the Juri Vips car. There's Ben Hingley in car number 77 that we were looking at then, running in P14 at the moment, as the cars make their way down to turn number 11, the right-hander, which is the mobile one turn. And safety car makes haste its escape up the road. Juri Vips slows. And once Juri Vips accelerates, he has to stay accelerated. He can't speed, slow. He has to make a decisive move as to when he is going to restart the race. Schumacher, you can see, is not weaving from side to side because he's trying to anticipate when Juri Vips is going to go for it. And to be fair, Mick Schumacher really anticipated that quite well because he stayed with Juri Vips. Juri Vips makes his way through turn 15 and turn 16. No overtaking until, of course, the cars have passed the line. And let's go racing once again then. And under pressure straight away was Ralph Aron, as Alex Paulo and Robert Schwartzman both there. So into turn number 2. So Juri Vips from Mick Schumacher as they turn on to the parabolica for the first time of asking following the safety car intervention. So the Formula 3 cars are making their way up towards the hairpin now. Marcus Armstrong right at the back of the pack, as you can see there, with the number 24 car of Amaya Vadjanathan. So into the hairpin they go. Is Schumacher able to do anything? No, not close enough to Juri Vips to be able to do so. However, lots of cars behind trying those overtake moves at the hairpin. It is one of the places to have a go for overtaking. Juri Vips got this all completely under control. Look at this battle going on for P4. It was 3 abreast at one point. So Gian Daravala buying into that battle as well. Gian Daravala on the outside. Here comes Dan Ticktum then with Marino Sato. So Ticktum absolutely flying in this race, and of course he needs to. He's got to do everything he can to get as far up the order as he can to even keep his championship hopes alive. But if Mick Schumacher should fall over, if there should be some mechanical problem to the car, he needs to bank as many points as possible to keep himself in that championship chase. So there is Ticktum. There's Gian Daravala in the all-pink car, easy to pick out from the fading light here now. Vips leading by 4/10 over Schumacher. Then it's Aron in P3, then Schwartzman, Daravala, Paulo, Scherer, and then Marino Sato, followed by Dan Ticktum. So Juri Vips then with everything completely under control. The top 2 have broken away just a little bit away from Ralph Aron, and in turn, Ralph Aron has broken away from Schwartzman. So P1, P2, the cars that you're looking at now, sent a picture as they head towards the hairpin. So there is Mick Schumacher, who of course doesn't have to necessarily attack Juri Vips, but he's a racer. He's going to want to win the race. Just takes a look into the inside of Juri Vips. Vips makes the car quite wide though and puts it through the middle of the turn. And Ticktum continuing to move his way up the order as well. There is Robert Schwartzman. There's Gian Daravala. Then the number 13 car of Fabio Scherer. And Ticktum has got past Marino Sato. Here is Juri Vips continuing to be pursued by Mick Schumacher. But Ticktum will get onto the back of this three-way fight going on just ahead of him. So there you can see all of those cars. And there's Juri Vips and Mick Schumacher remaining 4/10 apart then between the number 44 car and the number 4 car, making their way around the final turn to put another lap in the book. And we have, as they cross the timing line, 21 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining. Vips leading 6/10. He's opened up another couple of tenths over Mick Schumacher. Ralph Aron is P3, then it's Schwartzman, then it's Daravala, Scherer, Paulo, Sato. And there is Dan Ticktum in the number 27 car, the one that we're keeping our eyes on at the moment. In that P9 place at the moment, chasing down that Marino Sato car. So dives to the inside of Marino Sato, no, thinks better of it. So to the parabolica. Well, there you can see the turn of pace that Juri Vips has got now as he increases that margin between himself and Mick Schumacher, and this allows Ralph Lauren to get ever closer, and also Robert Schwartzman and Gian Daravala as well. So there is Juri Vips, and you can see now that Schumacher is within being touched by the car of Ralph Lauren. Ralph Lauren is really close to Schumacher now. Schumacher is losing out here. Juri Vips is escaping up the road, and all of a sudden, Mick Schumacher is having to think about defending from Ralph Lauren. Now, of course, in these positions where Dan Ticktum is at the moment, this would be enough for Mick Schumacher. But nonetheless, perhaps he's made a conscious decision that he's not going to fight Juri Vips because there's no point. However, he's got his teammate behind him from the Prema Theodore Racing team, and that, of course, is Ralph Lauren. So, wow, that was a sideways moment for Juri Vips. That is the reason why. Mick Schumacher then, with a mistake there, ran too wide. That is why Ralph Lauren is much closer to him now, and he's lost out to Juri Vips. So, that answers that question that we were posing, if you like. And there you can see that was how close earlier on Mick Schumacher was getting to Juri Vips. But what Juri Vips has been able to do now is rub his hands with invisible soap and say, thanks very much, I can get up the road. Because, of course, Juri Vips is not in the championship chase. All he's interested in is winning the race. And at the moment, he's 2.3 seconds up the road from this man, Mick Schumacher, who is P2. So the order is Vips, Schumacher, Aron. Then it's Schwartzman, Daravala. Fabio Scherer is P6, Alex Paulo is P7, then it's Marino Sato, and Dan Ticktum is in P9. And Juri Vips now sets the fastest lap, a 1:34.618. So what have we got? Just under 19 minutes plus one lap of the race remaining. Juri Vips, P1. There is Mick Schumacher, Ralph Lauren, and then we can see the car of Robert Schwartzman, and behind Schwartzman is Daravala. Here comes Dan Ticktum then on the number 33 car of Marino Sato. This is the battle for P8, and Dan Ticktum with a perfect execution of that overtake move through the inside. Goes through on Marino Sato. Brilliant move by Dan Ticktum. So well done, sir. Dan Ticktum, he's not giving up on this championship chase, trying to do everything he can to try and keep in terms, because he doesn't know what is necessarily going to happen to Mick Schumacher. Marino Sato then getting very wide. Let's see that again in replay. He just put himself into a position where he was completely committed to it, and Marino Sato could do nothing to defend against it. Great overtake from the car of and the talent of Daniel Ticktum. However, it all may be futile, of course, but there's still 17 3/4 minutes plus a lap, and he needs to get as far up the order as he possibly can. So Vips leading by 2.5 seconds over Mick Schumacher, P2. Then it's Aron, Schwartzman, Daravala, Fabio Scherer, Paulo Ticktum, P8. Then Sato, and Jonathan Aberdeen is P10. So Juri Vips then out on his own in that number 44 car. You can see Ralph Lauren is sticking with Mick Schumacher at the moment, and then Gian Daravala is just trying to reel in Robert Schwartzman in the fight for P4. Robert Schwartzman is currently P4, and there you can see over the last 3 laps the gap between Juri Vips and Mick Schumacher. And following that Mick Schumacher mistake where you saw him running wide, that's why he fell into the clutches almost of that car of Ralph Lauren. So Dan Ticktum then, P8. Next in the target sides of Dan Ticktum is Alex Paulo, who is running in P7. There's Gian Daravala in the all-pink car. In the meantime, there's Alex Paulo. Dan Ticktum then got quite some work to do to get on terms with Alex Paulo. He's some 1.3 seconds behind. That's the battle for P7 and P8. In a replay then, this is Dan Ticktum, driver supported by Red Bull, of course, and was a shoe-in for the championship, but that was until that extraordinary run of success from Mick Schumacher, which started back there at Spa with his first race win, then followed that up with a win at Silverstone and a win at Misano, and then that 3-strong sweep at Nürburgring, followed by 2 out of 3 at the Red Bull Ring. An incredible run of success for Mick Schumacher, who's currently in this race in P2, which is enough. So under investigation is the information that car 23 and number 1, that's Guan Yu Zhu, and also the car of Jonathan Aberdeen under investigation overtaking using the runoff in turn number 6. If you get an advantage using the runoff, it is always going to be looked at because you're exceeding the track limits. The white lines are there for a reason. And whilst they're policed as harder at times than at other times. Oh, it's a little bit of a lock up there from Mick Schumacher. You could see the from as we look at it, the right front locked up there as the car went into the turn. That particular corner becomes a little bit loose. And I'll tell you what, Robert Schwartzman's under real pressure now from Gian Daruvala. So Gian Daruvala, the Carlin driver, then pushing Robert Schwartzman for all he's worth. Robert Schwartzman, the young Russian racer, then driving for the Prema Theodore team. Also a member, of course, of the Ferrari Driver Academy. As we're into the halfway stages of this race now, Gian Daruvala pushing for all he's worth. Of course, comes into this race having not finished race 1 and desperately wants to get a good points finish in this race. And, of course, P4 is going to be better than P5. And there is Dan Ticktum, who's slowly reeling in Alex Paulo. I say slowly, is getting ever closer, but as I say, it could all be futile. So Juri Vips, 3.3 seconds to the good in the lead of the race. There's Alex Paulo. There is the Dan Ticktum car. So Schumacher, who's not going to be troubled too much, I wouldn't suggest, by Ralph Aron. And there is Ticktum. The car's on the parabolica heading up towards the hairpin over the sector line. And into turn number 6, which is the turn which is center screen right now, the hairpin turn, which is a scene of so much overtake action potentially. The tracking camera follows the cars down now towards turn number 7, which is taken absolutely flat before they head into the Mercedes arena at turn number 8 here. So Schumacher, who's almost got Ralph Aron here as a wingman, really, but Schumacher is not able to make an impression on Juri Vips at all. Vips driving an absolutely supreme race. And the Moto Park racer, Juri Vips, the Estonian, doing a very, very good job and maintaining that almost 3.5 second gap at the front. Now this is Mick Schumacher going wayward once again and getting the car sideways across the rumble strips and the AstroTurf and brings it back out onto the track once again, and Ralph Aron running wide as well. So there's our race leader. Now it was 3.3 last time around, and it's now 4.1 seconds, so it's another huge lump of margin that Juri Vips has been able to take out of those cars that are running in P2, 3 and beyond. There is Dan Ticktum, who is running in P8. Who's that running wide there? That was Jonathan Aberdeen. So now Ticktum is closer and quicker than Paulo. That's why he's a bit closer to Paulo, but I don't think the margin is absolutely enough. So Vips, Schumacher, Aron. Then it is Schwartzman, Daruvala, Fabio Scherer. Then it's Alex Paulo, Ticktum, Marino Sato and Jonathan Aberdeen rounding out the top 10. Then as diving to the inside there at the hairpin. You can make it work at the hairpin. You've got to be bold and brave and be late on the brakes as well to go on the inside. But Gian Daruvala then does put himself ahead of Robert Schwartzman. So we have just under 12 minutes plus 1 lap of the race remaining. 4.1 seconds, Juri Vips to the good. And Gian Daruvala then ahead of Robert Schwartzman for that P4 place in that all-pink liveried number 9 car. Of course, one of the Carlin cars here. So Vips, 4.1 seconds. Schumacher, P2. Aron is P3. Now, Juri Vips has just crossed the timing line. The margin remains the same at 4.4 seconds. Gian Daruvala, now he's been released from Robert Schwartzman. You can see just how much Gian Daruvala has got. Now, can he get on terms with Ralph Aron? There's about 1.9 seconds between Aron and Daruvala. And what have we got? 11 minutes plus 1 lap. It's going to be a big ask. A big ask, I would suggest. A big ask. So, Vips, Schumacher, Aron. And there is Juri Vips doing everything absolutely perfectly. He's just nailing each and every lap. He's lapping it in the 134s. Now, this is the championship prediction. If it stays this way, Mick Schumacher becomes the champion on 347 points. And incidentally, Jury Vips will leapfrog Robert Schwartzman for P3 in the Drivers' Championship. So Dan Ticktum would be P2. This is, assuming it stays this way. It's a big assume, isn't it? So we've still got 10.5 minutes plus a lap. And Ticktum now has reeled in Alex Paulo. He's been consistently quicker. Timo Rumpf looks on. The tension, you cannot imagine what it's like to be a team principal at this point. So now Alex Paulo then in P7 is all of a sudden going to have the hard-charging Dan Ticktum for company. Jury Vips lost out on a couple of tenths there in that last lap. Schumacher increased his pace a little bit. There is Robert Schwartzman, who's running in P5. And there is Dan Ticktum then. So Jury Vips to Robert Schwartzman, you can see over the last 3 laps. I mean, Jury Vips is just doing everything absolutely right. I was talking to Jury yesterday about where he thinks he'll be for 2019 rather. Wasn't prepared to commit because he said, in truth, Dave, the decisions have not been made yet. Of course, these young drivers each have a desire to go in certain directions, and of course it's down to all sorts of management decisions and funding as well. So there is Schumacher, there is Ralph Aron, Gian Daravala, Robert Schwartzman, and then it is the car of Fabio Scherer, and then Alex Paulo and Dan Ticktum are almost welded together now. There. That's the Alex Paulo car, that's the Dan Ticktum car. So Ticktum will show his face to Alex Paulo now and really harry the Alex Paulo car ahead. So this is the battle that we really want to watch. Of course, this is the battle for P7. Dan Ticktum has done really everything that's been asked of him in terms of trying to keep the car in the points and keep his championship hopes alive, but it's always been a big void that he's going to have to try and make up. And when you begin relying on others dropping off and not banking points, then it always becomes much more difficult. And that is the prospect that, of course, Dan Ticktum has had to face. So Vips, Schumacher, Aron, Daravala, Schwartzman, Scherer, Paulo, Ticktum. So that P7 place more valuable than P8, of course, for Dan Ticktum. But if it stays this way, would nothing like be enough? There is Ralph Aron, who's sort of out on his own, a couple of seconds ahead of Gian Daravala. And Mick Schumacher, who has built up enough margin over Ralph Aron to not be troubled. 1.2 seconds between Mick Schumacher and Ralph Aron. And Jury Vips has almost pulled into a lay-by in Mannheim and bought himself a coffee. He is so far ahead. 4.2 seconds. And in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, that's really, really good going. So it was a bit tempting fate, wasn't it, to see that T-shirt on someone there. But if it stays this way, sure enough, Mick Schumacher does become the FIA Formula 3 European champion. And there is Mick Schumacher. We've got 7.5 minutes plus a lap still to come. And you can see eager eyes, iPhones at the ready. Here he is, that number 4 car of Mick Schumacher. You can understand why there is so much attention around this young man, of course. He's shown extraordinary pace and extraordinary talent. And what I've been really impressed about with Mick is the fact that he seems to be able to absorb everything and take it all and still deliver when it matters most, and that's on the track. And we've certainly seen that from the middle part of the season on. So there is our race leader. Let's not lose sight of the fact that the race is being led by Jury Vips. 4.4 seconds to the good over Mick Schumacher. Then Ralph Aron, and Ticktum has got past Alex Paulo, and we didn't see that live. So Ticktum has got past Alex Paulo, so that overtake has come. And now Dan Ticktum finds himself in P7, chasing down Fabio Scherer now. So the order is Vips, Schumacher, Aron, Daravala, Schwartzman, Fabio Scherer, and then it is Dan Ticktum. So Fabio Scherer to Ticktum, 1.8 seconds. It's going to be a big ask for Ticktum to be able to get on to Fabio Scherer. But it could be done, and may well be done. So 6 minutes remaining. And now you can see that once Ticktum has got past Alex Paulo, he really has got the pace. So there is Schumacher, there is Ralph Aron. So Vips, Schumacher, Aron, Daravala, Schwartzman, Fabio Scherer, Dan Ticktum, Alex Paulo, Aberdeen, and Nikita Troitsky. Now this was the overtake of Dan Ticktum on Alex Paulo. Another great display of good overtaking from Ticktum. So the excitement beginning to build, of course, and the anticipation. We've got 5.5 minutes left to run of this race, plus 1 lap. So the tension building, of course, down there on the Prema Theodore pit wall as well. And it's all surrounding this man, Mick Schumacher. So Vips, Schumacher, and Aron, the 1, 2, 3. Vips, Schumacher, Aron. This will be enough for Mick Schumacher to become the 2018 FIA Formula 3 European champion. But there are still 5 minutes plus 1 lap of the race remaining. It's not all over yet. However, he has kept his cool, and Schumacher whether it was out of choice or whether it was just pace, chose not to chase down Juri Vips, and subsequently has just focused on doing enough. And a P2 is going to be enough for the Drivers' Championship. Dan Ticktum has done everything that he possibly can. He's thrown everything at it from his starting position. He's done really, really well. Finds himself 6/10 behind, 1.9 behind Fabio Scherer. Fabio Scherer, in turn, is 6/10 behind Robert Schwartzman, who is in P5. So there is Dan Ticktum. And out is Marcus Armstrong. Been a torrid weekend for him this weekend. I think there was coming together with Sophia Flörsch, which meant that Marcus Armstrong is out of the race. Torrid race 1, torrid race 2. He'll hope for better luck when it comes to race 3 tomorrow. So everyone is standing by because this man has got 3.5 minutes plus a lap to do. So Prema Theodore Racing, who have engineered the car. Mick Schumacher, who of course has had to drive the car. And drive it well, he most certainly has. Juri Vips, though, 4.2 seconds in the lead of the race. And you have to say that Juri Vips, should he take the race win, it's going to be somewhat overshadowed by this man, who, by finishing P2, will do enough. Now, the incident between Marcus Armstrong and Sophia Flörsch, which was in turn 6, is going to be investigated after the race. So Schumacher then on his way with, what do we have? 2.5 minutes plus a lap to do. That equates to probably 3 laps, or this lap plus 2 more. So he's making his way through the Mobile 1 turn now, heading towards the Sachs curve. Just beginning to look a little bit ragged now as the tyre deg is really beginning to affect the handling of the car, I would suggest. So it's going to cross the timing line with almost exactly 2 minutes of the race remaining, plus a lap. Vips, 3.9 seconds to the good from Schumacher, who in turn is 2 seconds ahead of Ralph Aron. Then it's Gian Daravala. It's been a good race from Gian Daravala to find himself in P4, ahead of Robert Schwartzman, Fabio Scherer, Dan Ticktum, who is P7, Alex Paolo P8, Jonathan Aberdeen is P9, Nikita Troitsky is P10, and Guan Yu Zhu just out of the points in P11. So to the Parabolica, and to the hairpin. He'll have to go through the hairpin one more time. There is Juri Vips, but we track Mick Schumacher down towards turn number 7, which in a Formula 3 car is taken absolutely flat before braking for the Mercedes turn number 8. Through the turns 8, 9, and 10 sequence before heading down towards the Mobile 1 section and turn number 11, which is where Mick Schumacher turns into now and carries the speed all the way down to turn number 12, the Sachs turn, which is banked, and he chooses to use the inside of that turn and then let the car naturally elevate to the outside of that turn. before turns 13, 14, 15 is where he is now, and this is turn number 16. So what we're going to have then, as he crosses the timing line, is we're now going to have 2 more laps, because the clock has not counted down to 0, as you can see. The race duration is 33 minutes plus 1 lap. So, to be fair, Schumacher is going to have to go through the hairpin twice more. So, this lap and the remainder of it, plus 1 more lap for Mick Schumacher then. Juri Vips continuing to look pretty comfortable with a 3.9 second margin over this number 4 car. So, as everyone looks on, and all the focus is on the car, number 4, Juri Vips, P1, Mick Schumacher, P2, Ralf Aron, P3. So we track the car once again down towards turn number 7, and then into the Mercedes Arena section of the Hockenheim circuit, turn number 8. So Schumacher then around the Sachs turn. Now, earlier on in the race, of course, the checkered flag came out early. It hasn't happened on this occasion. So Juri Vips has 1 more lap to do to take the race win. Mick Schumacher has 1 more lap to do to take the 2018 championship. Dan Ticktum gets ever closer to Fabio Scherer. He's done everything that he possibly could to try and keep the championship hopes alive, but in the end, it's not going to be enough. So, our race leader is heading through the parabolica now, up towards the hairpin. As you can see, the number 44 car, followed by the number 4 car of Mick Schumacher. Juri Vips, 3.7 seconds ahead of Mick Schumacher. This will be enough for Juri Vips to have a very, very commanding race win. However, as you can imagine, all the focus is going to be on this car and this driver, Mick Schumacher, who, from the middle of the season, truthfully, has looked pretty unbeatable and has delivered and delivered. So Juri Vips then makes his way through the turn number 11 and heads towards the Sachs turn, as does Mick Schumacher now. He has shown remarkable ability to soak up all the pressure and continue to deliver some incredible race pace. Juri Vips is going to be the race winner. So Juri Vips wins. But here comes the 2018 FIA Formula 3 European champion. It is Mick Schumacher. He has done it. He salutes the team. Schumacher has done it and has become the 2018 FIA Formula 3 European champion. Ralf Aron is P3. A stellar drive from Mick Schumacher, very sensibly doing more than enough in terms of what he needed to do to seal the championship. That says it all. Prema, Mick Schumacher, 2018 Formula 3 champion. So the banners begin to be unfolded. And, well, I should think that it's a huge sigh of relief for team principal René Rossin. So, as I say, the celebrations for Mick Schumacher will be huge and will somewhat overshadow those of the race winner, Juri Vips, and we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that he has won the race and won it fair and square. Mick Schumacher is the FIA Formula 3 European champion for 2018. So Fabio Scherer wins. Mick Schumacher then, who takes P2 in the race. P3 goes to Ralf Aron. P4 to Giantarovala. So let's take a look at the super slow-mo of the 2018 FIA Formula 3 European champion, and the moment that he headed towards the checkered flag and sealed the deal in terms of the title. P2 was always going to be enough. Kept two wheels within the white lines. There was the checkered flag, and there the pit board said it all. 2018 driver champion. Brilliant stuff. Well, of course, Rennie Rossin from Prema Feodor Racing has had some talent through the hands of his team. Here is our race winner, Juri Vips. Well done, Juri. Congratulated by Motor Park team principal. And here he comes then, Mick Schumacher. Of course, the car's got to go into Parc Fermé for P2. And of course, there will be an eruption of noise, I would suggest, as the car makes its way into Parc Fermé. Stefano Domenicali is there, as you can see, along with Sabina Kem. So the 2018 champion makes his way out of the car then. He has done it. I have to say, there were times at the beginning of the season that wasn't convinced necessarily it was going to be his year. Congratulated by team principal Rennie Rossin. However, he has delivered. I think he almost cannot believe it. So we're just allowing you to soak up the atmosphere and the emotions. I can remember at Misano having a great chat with him. And as I say, I've been just so impressed with the way he's been able to handle all the pressure that's been on him to be able to deliver, and he has delivered. Juri Vips, then the race winner, Mick Schumacher, P2. Rafa Ron, P3, Giantarovala, P4. And then it's Robert Schwartzman, Fabio Scherer, Dan Ticktum, Alex Paolo, Jonathan Aberdeen, and Nikita Troitsky, rounding out the top 10. But of course, all the talk is with regards to the 2018 FIA Formula 3 European champion, Mick Schumacher. And the podium will be a very special one, although the championship podium will, of course, come after race 3 tomorrow. And I have to say, I'm really rather pleased that I'm involved in the award ceremony tomorrow evening as well, where, of course, Mick Schumacher will, in front of all everyone involved in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, will be awarded. And there we can see Juri Vips once again celebrating the race win, and Mick Schumacher celebrate the championship win. And some great images. Drivers being hustled up to the podium. Suspect it's not going to be a quick podium because everyone wanting to talk to the driver of the number 4 car. And they're congratulated by the team principal. Oh, the emotion's clear to see. Really pleased to be able to show you these replays in super slow-mo. I always think it's a bit dodgy, you know, when you're having to print those things in advance of the title having been taken. There's supreme confidence and fingers crossed, I would suggest. So I can see from our commentary position that things are being readied with regards to the podium. And they're on the way. Dominic there, hustling everyone along from the organisation of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. One happy man. Oh, that's nice to see from Ralph Aron, his teammate. Congrats, man. Robert Schwartzman there as well, of course, because there are 2 podiums, rookie podium as well as the race podium as well. And Juri Vips, the race winner, making his congratulations to the man that followed him in that race in P2. Now, inevitably, we're only going to have time for the main podium. So Juri Vips then to the top step of the podium. Mick Schumacher then P2 in the race. And P3 in the race goes the way of Ralph Aron. Motor Park, of course, represented on the podium. And time for the national anthem to play out for Juri Vips. Trophy presentations time. And now, as I said earlier, this is for the race. And Juri Vips collects his race winner's trophy. Team Motor Park collect the trophy as well. P2 trophy to Mick Schumacher. Of course, he'll receive the trophy that really matters tomorrow. And there is Ralph Aron who collects that P3 trophy. So with the trophies presented then, time for the photographs. That is a way to open the bottle. Well done, jury. Schumacher, of course, receiving more champagne than most. And deservedly so. In the Drivers' Championship then, Mick Schumacher on 347 points means that he cannot be touched in terms of the Drivers' Championship. Dan Tickton P2 and Jury Vips P3, overhauling Robert Schwartzman, and Marcus Armstrong P5 behind Robert Schwartzman in the Drivers' Championship. So there we have it then. Another supreme race from the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, which P2 for this man, Mick Schumacher. Enough for him to become the Drivers' Champion for 2018. And congratulated there by Stefano Domenicali. Be receiving many, many congratulations over the course of this evening, I am sure, and of course tomorrow as well. So the job done and dusted as far as Mick Schumacher is concerned. The pressure is off now. He has done enough to seal the championship. So there we have it then. The new champion has been crowned, but we still have another race to come in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. Please make sure you join us for that tomorrow. From us here now, bye-bye.
Mick Schumacher krönt sich beim Heimspiel in Hockenheim zum Formel 3 Champion 2018. Wie hört sich das an?
Ja, sehr gut, aber ist noch nicht wirklich angekommen. Aber Ich freue mich einfach riesig. Also wirklich, was das Team geleistet hat über das ganze Jahr und das jetzt hier wirklich auch jetzt einzusammeln, das, was wir geerntet oder gesehen haben, das ist einfach unglaublich. Also.
Nehmen Sie uns einfach mit auf die letzten paar Meter im Cockpit. Man sitzt da, man weiß, wenn man gleich über den Strich fährt, dann habe ich das Ding im Sack. Was schießt einem da durch den Kopf?
Naja, ich habe mich eigentlich eher über meine Fehler genervt im Rennen, wenn ich ehrlich bin. Aber